Alright guys, welcome back to the channel. Today's video we're going to talk about Swhacker broadheads. Now Swhacker broadheads, I did not get these for free. I don't work with this company at all, but Swhacker broadheads have been a part of my hunting for I think 8 years now, 7-8 years, something like that. I started out using, I believe they were the black ones, the 100 grain black ones, which was 1.5 inches, I believe. And then when they came out with the green 2-inch cut, I switched to the 2-inch cut. I think that was about 3-4 years ago. But in my opinion, these are the most reliable broadheads on the market. And we're going to run through a process here today on how I put those in and test them for straightness and also arrow straightness. We're shooting Black Eagle Arrow Zombie Slayers with the Burr Coyote Luminox. But these are 100 grain 2-inch broadheads, and there's a lot of videos out there and people discuss broadheads. Now this is, I believe broadheads mainly is personal preference. I do think there are some bad designs out there, but in my opinion it's personal preference. Any broadhead will kill a deer. You can actually kill a deer with a field tip point. I do not recommend that. It's illegal and I don't recommend it, but it's just an example. You hit the deer in the right spot, you're going to kill it. Don't care what broadhead you have. If you have a bad shot that's like completely in a bad area, you're not going to kill the deer. It all boils down to shot placement. The difference between mechanical and fixed blade, I believe each one has its pros and cons. I shot muzzy broadheads for 10 years. Great broadheads. I've lost deer with muzzies. I believe over the course of like 18 years, I think I've lost about 6 deer from bow hunting. And just bad shots, whatever. Haven't been able to find them. It happens. It sucks. It's horrible. I lose sleep for about 3 days and then, I move on. But with these broadheads, I believe the pros and cons of mechanical versus fixed blade broadheads. When you're using a mechanical broadhead, you have that failure that could happen, which is mechanical. It's a mechanical, there's moving parts, things could happen, things could fail. With the Swhackers, I have not had one fail. In my opinion, they 100% have to open because you have these wing blades here and there's only a rubber band wrapped around it. So these wing blades, when you have this about 1.25 inch chisel tip on there that enters the cavity of the deer, the hide and the ribs, before it even touches the wing blades. So you're already penetrated into the animal before it even touches these wing blades here. So those wing blades are sharp and they cut the hide and the first inch or so, 1.25 inch of the deer bust through the ribs. They get pushed open and then you swing back and you have your 2-inch cut, which is a fresh set of blades to finish penetrating the deer. With mechanicals, most of them are a larger diameter cut than fixed blade. The pros of a mechanical is 1, it's a larger diameter cut. 2, most of the times it flies like your field tip. And 3, I believe that it helps to compensate for a bad shot. The cons, I believe, are, yes, it's a mechanical, so anything mechanical can fail. A mechanical device can fail. So that would be a con. The other con would be it is a larger diameter cut. So if you're hitting into a bone or something, you may not get good penetration, but that goes back to your bow setup to make sure you have the proper weight arrow, proper poundage of your bow, so you get the proper kinetic energy. The other con, I would say, with a larger diameter cut is that in quarter away shots, if you have an animal and you have a quarter away shot and you're aiming behind that last rib, you're going to be busting through the intestines and the stomach lining to get up into the lung area. Now, I've done that a few times. Quarter away deer, I love quarter away shots. Usually the animal dies fairly quickly. The only bad side of that is when you have a large diameter cut and the deer is quartered away and you bust through those intestines, a lot of times the hole is so large, the intestine actually pops out that hole, plugs the hole up, and then you don't have a blood trail. So, but if you see the deer go down, then it's not a problem. But I've had that happen a few times, and I don't have a blood trail, so you're basically, you know, you're just going in the direction you saw it run, and hopefully that you find it, because those intestines spill out that hole, because that hole is so large, it plugs the hole up. Now, I would say pros and cons of a fixed blade is some fixed blades are hard to get the fly straight, hard to tune. It is a smaller diameter cut, so if you do have a bad shot that could be off by like an inch, inch and a half, 2 inches or something, you still have that small diameter hole to where it's not going to help you compensate for that bad shot. Another con would be that it's just a smaller cut in general, so you know, like I said, a bad shot, it's not going to compensate for that. So pros to a fixed blade broadhead is it's fixed, nothing can fail. Another pro would be it's a smaller diameter cut, so you get, most of the time you may get more penetration, but it also boils down to your bow setup, proper kinetic energy, proper weight arrow, proper poundage of the bow to get that set up to where you have that medium of kinetic energy to where you get the proper penetration. All right, so now I kind of discussed a little bit of the pros and cons. We're just going to run through. I'm going to show you guys some tips on what I like to do when purchasing these broadheads, putting them on the arrow, and actually using an arrow spinner to test knock wobble, arrow wobble, broadhead wobble, make sure everything is cut even. We're just going to run through that process here. So the first thing I like to do is put this on the arrow spinner with my broadhead and the nock that I'm going to use, and I'll just spin that very lightly. And what we're looking for is wobble. You can actually see the wobble in the nock. You can see wobble in the broadhead, to where if that broadhead was manufactured in a way to where it's not 100% true, you know, it could wobble. But it also could be to where when you cut your arrows, it's not 100% flat. So when you screw your put your insert in, it's kind of cocked to the side a little bit, so that could cause the broadhead to wobble as well, or look like it's wobbling, but it's actually your arrow. I've actually seen arrows that's bent. I haven't seen these arrows bent, but if you're shooting aluminum arrows, if you spin that on the things, I've seen it really, really bad, to where you're like, what in the world's going on? And the arrow is just bent, you know, fresh out the box. So I have not seen that on carbon arrows. But not to say it couldn't happen, but I just have not seen that way. So it's a pretty cool setup when you're using an arrow spinner. I've had this arrow spinner for a long time, 10-15 years. I think I got it, honestly I don't remember where I bought it, but it wasn't very expensive. It was like 12 bucks, 15 bucks or something. But it's just little things like that to test. It takes a couple seconds to do, but it's little things like that to help make sure you don't have any errors out in the field. So again, guys, I just believe that these are the best broadheads. Obviously it boils down to personal preference, but I like these mechanicals because I think they're fail-proof. Not to say it couldn't happen, but I believe they're fail-proof. Always had, you know, pretty good blood trails with them. They fly straight, fly true, and to my knowledge, I have not had one fail. I did lose, I think, 2 deer shooting these, but I think that's a major issue with people when they're shooting a broadhead and they lose an animal. They immediately blame it on a broadhead, which I completely disagree with. I think it just boils down to shot placement. First thing people want to do, they don't want to admit, or you know, they don't want to make themselves feel like they put a bad head on the animal, so they blame it on the next nearest thing, which is your broadhead. And I'm telling you, majority of times, 95% of the time, it has nothing to do with your broadhead. It boils down to shot placement. I've lost 2 deer with a swacker. I still shoot them because I realized that things happen. It was a bad shot, and it's my job to make sure that doesn't happen again. But it's not the broadhead, guys. It's actually just bad shot placement. I'm sorry to say that, and I'm sure somebody watching this video is going to say that that's bullcrap. It's broadheads fail, and I'm not saying broadheads don't fail. I'm saying majority of the time it's shot placement. If you guys have any questions about swacker broadheads, go ahead and fire them below. I can more than happy to help you out. Any questions about the video in general, go ahead and post them down below. Give the video a thumbs up. If you guys have not yet subscribed to the channel, please be sure to subscribe. We post weekly videos, hunting videos, deer hunting videos, turkey hunting videos, food plots, land management, etc. And I hope you guys, or I hope I see you on the next one.